Welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes. It was a real pleasure to sit down with this amazing man and learn more about him. He is such a wonderful human being, liked by so many of his fellow porn stars and loved by his fans. Behind his beautiful, complex smile is an inspiring human being. I am so glad I get to share this with you all. His history might surprise you, but it has made him the strong person he is today. It gives me great pleasure to have Nic Sahara join me today on the show. Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad you could join me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Well, it definitely is going to be ours. I've been looking forward to this for a while, so this is going to be fun.
Good. Good.
So let's
Happy to be
open.
here.
I'm sorry, what?
I said I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad that you agreed to do this. Hopefully, this turns into a fun and adventure, and we learn all sorts of stuff. So,
Absolutely.
first thing I'm going to start with is let's talk about what were you like when you were growing up. Tell me about your childhood.
Well, I was actually kind of a quiet kid. Um, but it's those quiet kids that are a little bit more mischievous in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it was hard growing up for me. A big part of that had to do with the fact that I had to take care of myself for the majority of my life. Um, I'm adopted, so it's it was just always me and my sister, and we really just kind of had to take care of each other in order to you know make it to the next day in sort of a sense,
Okay.
especially when you kind of grow up without your parents. So we were always just really strong-willed kids and just watched out for each other, and you know that caused me to be quiet. But you know, it was probably for the best because I didn't have a whole lot of nice things to say.
Hmm. So your childhood then was good, bad? Was it? I mean, you had struggles. You were.
I had a lot of struggles, a lot of struggles. Um, so I was adopted when I was 6, and I lived with my birth mother prior to that, and it was just she was poor. She was on drugs, and she was in trouble with the law. So she sent us to move in with my biological aunt, and that actually really kind of the struggles from when I was born to when I was 6 really just kind of defined who I was. I was a
Mm-hmm.
very quiet, reserved boy. I didn't know a lot of the social standards that I had to learn from 6 and up. Um, so I really had to try hard to figure it out. I had to take myself to school when I needed to go to school. There wasn't food in the house, so we ended up having to go to school with no food, eat at school sometimes, and basically kind of ask for a handout from the school district. And it was embarrassing when it happened, but then when my adoption went through and we went to go live with my mom, she would tell you the same thing. I was quiet. I was super quiet. I held everything in. I didn't want to talk about things. I didn't need to talk about things. I don't think. And she just ended up having to teach me coping mechanisms for what I had to endure in the past. When I was with her, she was that mothering role to the point where she was embracing me like a mom should,
Mm-hmm.
and she was taking care of me as a mom should, and she took on this responsibility at 20 years old. So my hats are off to her, and I thank her every single day because I couldn't imagine what my life would be like today had I been left on my own to fend for myself, at such a young age throughout my teenage years. I could have gotten into a
She sounds like an amazing woman.
Oh, she is absolutely the best. Absolutely, and I tell her every day.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that you came over the hill from a very trying beginning and you succeeded and you triumphed. That's huge. That's so huge.
absolutely,
So huge.
absolutely.
So, going to high school, when did you figure out that you were gay and when did you, how did you process all that? You were kind of you're in that middle period between when it became okay to come out and that transition period and then what we currently call the current situation, I guess is the best way, which still is full of strife for lots and lots of kids. So
Sure.
it's interesting to share that information because, it kind of gives some understanding that, there are lots that went through a different way of having to cope with that.
Right, right. Well, when I first kind of figured out that there might be something that was different with me, and that's kind of how I like to approach it. I knew there was something different, and that was probably my sophomore year in high school. I noticed that I was instead of being attracted to girls like most guys, they were attracted to the female scent. They were attracted to their hair, their different aspects of their body. I did not have a preference of what girl was doing was wearing what or what girl was doing what or what their body issues may be or anything like that. I never had that click.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to guys, because it was a co-ed, locker or sorry, not a co-ed, it was a single ed locker room where we were just in with the boys and the boys had their own locker room. It's very separated. So I would go into the locker room and I would always be really shy because I was skinny. I was like, I was kind of geeky and I didn't really know where I fit in. I had the worst fashion ever. So I wasn't fitting in with the cool kids and I wasn't fitting in with the nerds because I was a little bit too goth. And so I didn't have a specific place in school. My one of my best friends, he was part of the football team. I was part of the football team as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did track, I did basketball, I did baseball, I did wrestling, and so I was kind of like the jock, but I was the troubled jock, if you will.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's great. Um, I just kind of kept to myself. I didn't let anybody in, just because, just for when I was growing up, I always found out that if you let people in too much, you're gonna get burned, unless you really absolutely trust them. So, I go to my best friend one day and I said, hey, I said, there's something wrong with me. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you've been dating a girl, right? He goes, yeah. I said, well, I'm dating a girl. And she was like the most beautiful girl in the school. Her name was Candace. I said, so you're dating Elizabeth and I'm dating Candace. And I was like, do you kiss Elizabeth and then you feel something, right? He's like, yeah, of course. I like her. Oh, okay. He's like, you don't feel that way with Candace. I was like, no. He's like, what are you talking about? She's hot. I was like, I guess. So I didn't know how to appreciate beauty. So then maybe a month or two goes by, and I grew up highly religious, but open to other religions. So, I grew up Seventh Day Adventist,
Okay.
and my best friend was Mormon. And so I pulled him aside and I said, you're going to understand where I'm coming from a lot more than anybody else because our religions are kind of very similar
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of aspects. He goes, okay. I said, dude. I was like, look, I'm gay. And he goes, okay. He said, so, he was like, well, what makes you think that? So, I don't know. And at that time, I was kind of like checking out guys in the locker room
Mm-hmm.
very slyly. And so I was like, well, I said, we're in the locker room. You know how to turn away because I'm really shy. And he's like, yeah. He goes, I go, well, there's another reason why I turn away is because I don't want to look at guys. He goes, well, why not? I was like, because I'm afraid if I do look at guys, I might be, there might be something I'm attracted to. He goes, okay. And so I said, when your mom goes out and buys you underwear and all that. He goes, yeah. I said, the guy in the package, that's what I'm attracted to. I don't care about the underwear. I just want the guy in the package. He goes, oh, yeah, you're gay.
That's an interesting way to have somebody tell you you're, well,
Right.
at least confirmation.
Right. Well, so but the thing was that like being gay in my town, I grew up in a small town, and very religious, like very religious. Nobody can even fart wrong, otherwise it's against God, and everybody in the town knows. Like the congregation is just like, nope, you're gone, kind of thing. But so I was actually really scared to come out. There was one guy in my high school. He was actually the same grade as me. His name was Cole, and he, I have to say, he's the bravest man I know because he came out in high school. He was always out. He was flamboyant. He knew who he was. He was
Mm-hmm.
secure in who he was. And I see him even, his Instagram and his Twitter and all that. He's doing very well for himself. Very good looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I admire his courage because his courage is what makes, him the individual he is today. So he really kind of paved a huge way for me to be who I am, I think. And then, I found my birth father. And I moved down with my birth father for the last 2 years of high school. And that's when I came out of the closet. I told my father, and it was interesting how I told my father, because I wasn't knowing like how he was going to react to it. And he goes, he set me up on a blind date with this girl. And by that time, I already known, hey, I'm gay. I'm not gonna really like this, but I'll do it just to kind of make him happy. So I take her out on a date. I take her to the movies. My father is so excited, so excited. Come back home and he's like, so what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a good time? I was like, I mean, it was the movies. He goes, well, did you guys talk at all? I was like, no. He goes, so you didn't talk. Like, what did you guys do? I was like, I watched the movie. He was like, would you see her again? I was like, no. He goes, why? I was like, so I'm gay. He goes, wait, are you kidding me? And I was like, no, I'm not kidding. I'm gay. He goes, oh, okay. And so finally, he sat there and he's like, okay, well, I'm bisexual. I was like, okay. He's like, that explains a lot.
That's huge right there. That's
Right. So he was always really like, he's really supportive. He's like that P flag dad. And then so I told my sister, because I knew she wasn't gonna have a problem with it at all. And so I told my sister, and I said, hey, just so you know, I'm gay. And she goes, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I was like, cool. So she tells my grandmother. She tells my mom. And so I was forced to tell my dad. And I was like, cool. At that time, my parents had split up. And he had a new wife, and she didn't like gay people. She's very religious and very
sorry.
Oh, I mean, look, honestly, it's his loss.
Oh,
You know, I'm just,
I agree with you there, but I'm still sorry for the fact that anyone should have to experience that, because I cannot understand the disconnect between your love for your child and
um,
I just
well, he will never. It got to the point where he did disown me. Um, and so, while I call my mom, it would make sense because he raised me to call him dad, right? There's
Mhm.
a logical sense there. And, I did call him dad, and so he was that rock that I needed as a man to show me what a man should do and how to behave and how to act and respect and all that. So he taught me all that, right? Well, he now has remarried because the second wife had passed away of cancer. But the second wife did not want us to have a relationship. Any of the kids from prior marriage, nothing. She wanted nothing to do with it. She wanted her family to move in and us to move out. And so she did that to every single one of his kids. There were three of us that I grew up with. Three of us. And
Again,
he
it's his
pushed them apart.
loss.
Well, yeah. So he chose a woman over his children.
Wow.
It was unfortunate. Absolutely.
So so then I know you were in the military. You served in the military for
Yep.
one tour, two tours? Did you just, how
I
long were
was
you?
overseas.
Okay.
I was overseas in Germany. So one tour.
Okay.
Yep.
Just a good experience to get yourself out and see the world a little bit. And,
It was, honestly, I may talk shit about life in the military because it wasn't for me. But I will say this: I learned a lot of life lessons there,
mm-hmm.
and I would have never learned these life lessons had I not gone.
That's good. So
Yeah.
so why did you get into porn? What was the draw to getting into porn?
Well, I've always had like my friends were always like people that did porn. Even when I was like 18, like I always just had them, and they were always around. And so at a very young age, I was still thinking to myself, I was like, well, I could do porn, and but then back then I still had my body issues, and I was like, no, I was like, it's not the right time. I'm too skinny. I don't want to be labeled. And then so now that I'm in my 30s, I have a great head on my shoulders. My body's where I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I still have my youthful look. So why the hell not? You know what I mean? I
Right.
worked a corporate job, 9 to 5, going into the office, doing what I needed to do, being that good son that everybody wants. So why am I why am I stressing myself out for that 9 to 5 when it's not necessary? Work for myself. I get paid to have sex. Who doesn't like to have sex? Who doesn't like money? I mean,
The
it's a
list the
win-win.
list is there.
It's there. But most of all, though, I it's for those that watch my work. It's a tutorial. It's a marriage counselor. It's a service.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting because I had somebody come up to me one day. They're like, we watch your porn. I was like, we who? And he's like, yeah, me and my husband. Oh, okay. I was like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And they're like, oh, well, I said, well, it's nice to meet you. They're like, well, wait, I gotta tell you something. I was like, what's up? They're like, you saved our relationship. And I was like, well, why? He goes, well, you play different roles, right? I was like, yeah. I was like, it's role playing. He's like, yeah. I said, it's kind of hot. Like, why would you not? Like, he goes, well, he was never really into that. But, after seeing your porn and seeing how you were gravitating toward these guys, and each time it was just so hot. And you were having a good time, and you looked like you're having a good time with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I not? Like, why would I not try that? He goes, and that's what we needed in our relationship, is to spice it up in the bedroom. I was like, well, I'm glad I can help, and hopefully in the future you guys continue watching. And he's like, nope, we're a fan for life. Don't worry about it.
Great. That's
So
awesome.
we're a little bit of everything.
Well, counselor, yeah, that works.
Yeah. So and we get those questions a lot as far as performers go. Hey, so what does it feel like when you do this, or or hey, you can get anybody you want. I was like, well, yeah, we have the confidence to. And we work hard, we display ourselves, and it takes a lot for somebody to do porn, just because you're exposing all of you.
Mm-hmm.
You're exposing every last inch, and so when you are in front of the camera and you're naked, like it can go one of two ways. It can go extremely positive, and you have a great experience, or you can have the worst experience and never want to do it again. So when my first scene, when I actually got my first scene, that was all running through my mind. So it's a lot to think about, and it's a lot to process, and it's a lot of everything, right?
Right.
After all that, I had a great scene, and my scene partner was on point, and he made the experience so incredible. And let me tell you, like, it could have gone the other way real fast. But yeah, it's just something I've always done, or I've always wanted to do, and I was always kind of an exhibitionist in sort of a way.
It seems to be a prerequisite.
Yeah. I mean, you do have those guys that won't have sex in public, or they're not as risque as others. So, say I'm going to compare two different porn stars. If you look at Danny Montero versus Damian Stone. If you were to compare those two, I'd say Damian Stone is a little bit more into public sex than Danny Montero.
Okay.
It really kind of depends on the guy. So we kind of have our subcultures in porn as well, in the gay porn. Like Danny Montero won't film with somebody unless they use a condom. Michael Roman loves it bare. Let's just go at it.
Makes
Screw the
sense.
condom. It feels better. So.
Makes sense. So how did you come up with your porn name?
Well, I was in Vegas when I started porn, and Nick is actually, and the way it's spelled is actually a friend of mine in San Jose, California, when I used to live there.
Okay.
And so, I got permission to use that spelling of the name. And he's like, oh my God, I'd be flattered. And I was like, great. And then the Sahara, because it's the desert, right? I was living in the desert, and it gets hot in the desert. So, what a hot name!
Great, that's a great one. I like it. I thought maybe you meant the casino.
No. It was just strictly about temperature.
See, now that was a misconception that I had. Thank you for clearing that up. I did. I was like, well, maybe he just likes to gamble.
I'm not that much of that.
I don't normally assume on stuff like that, but it was an easy leap.
Right, it's an easy scapegoat. Although that is a very fun casino. it's been on the strip for years, so can't be that bad.
This is true. So it's all good. It's all good. So, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about the porn industry and the actors in it?
Oh gosh, that we can all fuck really well.
This is good to know. I'm assuming that's a negative, that not everybody is skilled.
So I'm not going to throw any names out.
You don't have to. I'm not asking, and I have no interest in knowing.
I did do a scene where it was, on camera.
Uh-huh.
I looked at the guy that I had the scene with, and I had asked him. It got to the point where I had to stop the scene, and I looked at him straight in the face, and I said, "Have you ever had sex before?" He goes, "Well, yeah. Why?" I said, "Well, because this is not it." So
I will ask this: is he still in the industry?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Okay, so yes. We'll move on past that one.
So I had actually restarted the scene again, and then he starts doing the same thing, but this time he slaps my ass. Now I'm not a big fan of somebody slapping my ass, especially as a surprise.
Not without consent either.
So I was like, whoa. And he goes, "What's up?" I said, "Don't slap my ass." He goes, "Oh, okay." So then he spits on it, and then he slaps it during the next take. So then he goes, he sat there and he was like, "Yeah." So it starts going at it again. No consideration for the bottom. So I stopped it again. I said, "Hi, can I have my asshole intact by the time this is done?"
God.
Kind of need that later.
They do. They have a they are multi-purpose.
I get that, but
No. I meant I'm on your side on this one.
oh, it was awful.
So then tell me about tell me about the scene you're most proud about. Let's go to something more positive. What's your
Ooh.
proudest scene? Which one stands out to you that you're like?
Okay. So there was one, I was with Zach Bishop. He was my scene partner.
Okay.
And it just went so seamless. We actually did, it was for the pledge, and that's one of them that has been released, where I was touching this fraternity, and I had a lot of great ideas on the scene to try to kind of twist it and change it. Of course, I got, authorization from the directors and all that stuff, so, it wasn't something that was like, just thrown in there.
Okay.
Automatically. I had to seek approval and making sure it kind of went with the theme. And so there was so many different moving parts to it that I had actually gotten into. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, we go into the sex part. And Zach wasn't feeling all that well that day.
Mm-hmm.
But I, honestly, I have to give my hats off to him because he was such a great scene partner. He pulled it together, did the scene, and he did the scene, and he was like, he was just such a great trooper about it. But during we started off in one position. Then, without pulling out at all, we got that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I flipped him into another position, and then I flipped him back over with one leg up in the air. And then I brought the other leg up for the missionary position, and then we just, all without actually coming out of him.
Wow.
It was that seamless.
Nice.
So four positions, one take. And she was just like, nope, let him go. This is really hot. And you could hear her in the room
Yeah.
saying, yes, that's hot. Yes.
The pom-poms are going.
Yes.
Nice.
So it was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. And she's always been a pleasure to work with, but that was one of them. And then this last scene that I just did for a hot house.
Uh-huh.
Again, it was hard to kind of, and it was hard to shoot, but my scene partner was amazing, Vincent O'Reilly. Like, I would do a scene with him any day, anytime. Our chemistry was just there.
Awesome.
It was there. I mean, we had a great presence with each other. And so, for me and Zach are like sisters. Me and Vincent, we just had a great connection. And so if there was ever a scene that we were to be called for again, I would take that in a heartbeat.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
great. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad. So what's your favorite thing about being in the porn business now? I mean, what do you like about what you're doing?
Well, I like the flexibility of my own schedule because it's almost like I'm running my own business. I'm running my own empire.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about it like that. So with something like that, I'm more or less saying it's all about the schedule. And ultimately, I decide how much I work and how much I don't work, right?
Right.
So I said, I can get things done around the house. I can, take my dogs for a walk or whatever needs to be done, I can do. I can go work out, and it forces me to kind of keep up my body as much as I can,
Mm-hmm.
So that's a positive thing too.
Wonderful. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully still doing porn.
Okay.
Looking amazing.
Looking well.
Yeah, I mean, big name, big things, right?
Yes. Goals are great. Goals are wonderful.
Absolutely.
They set a precedent. So being who you are now, what advice would you give to yourself, your younger self, if you could go back and give any advice?
Be brave and speak up.
Wonderful.
There's probably somebody that would feel the same as my younger self.
Mm-hmm.
Speak up about it, because you won't know how they're feeling until you speak up, until you let them know how you feel. It kind of contradicts a little bit about what I am today as well, because there are so many times I'm so closed off. There are some things that I do keep to myself because I live in the moment. The past is not necessarily who defines you. It teaches you the lessons that you need to have in order to push forward. So, but it doesn't define who you are today.
No, because we're constantly evolving. So
Correct.
we're always in motion. We're never stagnant and stable in one place. There's always movement to
Exactly.
how we think, who we are, where we're going, where we've been. The ebb and flow. I agree.
Yep,
I totally agree.
absolutely.
So if you could do one thing that would impact the world, what would that be?
If I could do one thing, and it doesn't have to impact the world like right away.
No. This is your role. This is your thing.
I would education, honestly. I think education is super important. I guess it's the proper education, I think. I took a trip to Africa a few years ago, actually maybe about 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I took a trip to Africa, and it was the best experience of my life. Because originally I was gonna go there and I was gonna take care of work in an orphanage, taking care of babies and all. But then they saw that I had somewhat of a teaching background
Mm-hmm.
because I used to volunteer in my elementary school, doing TA work for my 6th grade teacher actually. Um, so it was interesting. It was very interesting because they're like, no, you're going to be better served over here teaching. And I was like, but I don't have any teaching credentials, nothing like that, right? They're like, no, this is your class. You're going to be in charge of it, so make your lesson plans. Here's your subject. Okay, cool. So I went to Africa to teach young women. I was at an all-girls school, teaching young women how to read and write in English.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that was the most rewarding experience of my life. And it made me kind of really think about, we have it so easy in our education system because it's free. We budget that out in taxes, and everybody pays and helps in taxes, and you get that free education unless you're in a private school, then you pay your tuition and whatever. But education is so important because without it, you don't have the same opportunities. Because these girls are expected to marry at 9 and 10 years old and start their wifely duties at 9 and 10 years old, not go to school. And it's like, that just blew my mind. So, yeah, a lot of the girls that I taught, they were 18, learning 7th and 8th grade English.
Things we take advantage of or don't even think
Absolutely.
about.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, that was completely fascinating. So it's kind of making my next question redundant, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So what do you think's the most interesting thing about you?
The most interesting thing, I know how to walk in heels really well.
I hear that a lot from a lot of you. That's actually some of you are better at it than we are, and I will totally confess to this.
Oh yeah, no. So, okay, so when I was younger, I started modeling when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the training that they give you as a male model is walking in heels for runway. The reason why they do that is to regulate your stride.
Okay.
And to force you to walk at the pace of the women. So they will ask you to put on some heels and walk in these heels. So that way you know what it's like to be on the other shoe, where the shoe's on the other foot.
Mm-hmm.
And so that allows 2 models to walk down at the same pace, turn around and walk back at the same pace, and then the next people can go through. So they taught me, and I ended up teaching other models in a class how to walk in heels.
There is an art to it. There's definitely an art to it.
Yep, absolutely.
And not everybody can do it. Not everybody can do it. And
and you have to have your own signature to it too. Like you have to make it unique to you, but there's guidelines that you have to follow. So
well, true. And it has absolutely nothing to do with whether you're male or female or whatever you define yourself as. The skill is just it is a unisex
absolutely.
skill completely. And there, you either get good at it, or you're adequate, or you're bad at it. There's just those three categories. That's all there is.
Well, and it was funny because there was one time I was on a runway, and we were just going one at a time, and we had to intersect between a male and female had to intersect on the runway at the very middle point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was walking, and right before the girl got to the middle point, now mind you, she had been drinking.
Okay.
Falls off the runway.
Ouch.
Into the crowd. It was pretty monstrous.
Sounds
like,
horrific.
Yeah.
So, what do you do to relax when you're not on, working or on stage or going to events or, I know you keep busy with not just the porn, you also do club appearances and other things too. But what do you do? What do you do with just for you? What do you do for relaxation? What does Nick do behind the camera when he's?
I believe it or not, I go to the gym to relax. Because with everybody around me all the time, I'm always putting myself out there. I'm always in front of something or somebody, and I'm always, being like, oh, hey, how are you? Being super friendly. But when I'm in the gym, I put my headphones in,
Mm-hmm.
the world just melts away. And I'm there by myself, and I'm in my own thoughts, and I'm able to process those own thoughts to make me a better person for the next day.
I get it. Totally get that.
Yeah.
Totally get that.
Yeah.
So, what makes you smile?
My fur babies.
Your fur babies. Okay.
Yes.
They're all adorable. So
They are.
Very good reason to smile.
Oh yeah. And they all have their own personalities too. So Sophia, the first one that you saw, complete, lovable. She's very in the morning she's very moody, just kind of like me. Like if I don't have my cup of coffee, don't even bother talking to me.
She sounds like a diva.
Don't even look at me. Because I'll know that you want to say something and that's going to annoy me.
Diva.
The perfect way to wake up is with a cup of coffee in the morning. Bring it in, we're good.
Okay. So come in with the white flag and a cup of coffee and all's well with the world.
Done.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
If not, World War III's breaking out, and here we go.
Well, you'd never know it by your coffee pictures. Just saying.
Me and Corey Kane.
I'm just telling you, you both have this coffee thing going on, and I'm totally applauding all of it. All of it.
I love me some Corey Kane. He is amazing.
Yes,
Absolutely.
He is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I can't wait for you to do a coffee picture together. Actually, that's on my wish list. Trust me. And now that I've told both of you this wish, that I expect it to happen sooner than later. Just saying.
Well, I happen to love Corey Kane to the moon and back. And if we ever do get to work together, I will bring the coffee. And we will do the coffee pick.
Okay, I'm holding you to that because
I will do it.
All right,
it'll be done.
All right. So when you get your new cup from me, that will be helpful too. So
absolutely, yes.
I'm
looking forward to that.
I know you are. Now that it's finally arrived, I can get it off to you. So
right.
So tell me something, one skill that you have that not many people would know about. What's one thing that you do that you excel at
Yeah.
that
I can arrange flowers.
that's actually pretty artful. That's pretty talented too.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and I'm a good cook.
Oh, really? So what's your favorite dish
Mhm.
to make?
My specialty is Caribbean food.
Oh,
So a lot of chicken, a lot of rice.
okay.
Uh, because I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban.
Oh, okay.
hmm
Remind me
So
next time we're together for you to cook for me.
I mean, it can happen.
I would not turn down a meal. I'm just saying. That would sound
Oh,
so yummy.
it's on. It's on. It's on.
Okay. Maybe we'll
So,
actually have to swap some recipes too. So, because I'm pretty good
well,
cook myself. So,
it's a 50 recipe, so we can't have all the ingredients.
well, no. I'm always adding and taking away, and yeah, all over the place.
Yeah.
It's,
So, but I am a good cook.
okay.
Especially when I cook Caribbean food.
Sounds amazing. So, what's a trait about yourself you like the most? What's something about you that you think is pretty neat about you?
A trait? I'm probably the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that like you meet them and then they're like, oh, hi. Opposed to me, I'm like, oh, hi, how are you? So tell me about you. Like, I want to get to know you, and so I'm always that like friendly person.
You are very gregarious. I agree. I agree.
Right. Well, that's slightly because I'm ADD as well. So I'm like, look, shiny thing. Oh, look over there, squirrel.
Squirrel.
Oh, look, pet rock. Yes.
Squirrel. It's okay. There's a lot of squirrels in this world. We're all cool. We're all good.
Oh, I love it.
I do
Love
too.
it.
Sparkly things.
And they all have nuts.
Sparkly.
They all have nuts.
Yes, they do. And if they're sparkly, all the better.
Perfect. They have to have that glisten of that nice morning dew.
Oh, okay. We're talking about morning
Yes.
woodly dew. I got it.
Absolutely. Has a nice woodsy taste to it. Absolutely.
Oh, it's getting warm in here. You know that?
Well, that's why you have Nic Sahara.
I know. It's a hot. I know the heat. Ha ha. We got that. Yes, totally cool. So, okay, Mr. Nic Sahara, what would your autobiography be called if they were to write it?
Please me.
Please me. Really?
Yes.
Okay. I like it. To the point, very clear, no room for
Yep.
misconception. It's just
Yep.
there it is. I like
Well,
it.
but it's also left up to interpretation.
True.
Please me can be like it's almost like pick me, please,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or it can be like very sexual, like
Well.
you're gonna please me.
Mm-hmm.
So those two interpretations in itself represent my life. So it started off as the helpless person saying, almost like, please help me.
Mm-hmm.
Now saying, you're going to please me. And it's the struggle in between.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, any advice that you would give to somebody considering getting into porn? What would you tell somebody if they had approached you and wanted to, get some advice about going into the porn industry?
It's not for everybody.
Okay.
It's not for everybody. So if you try it and you don't like it, don't worry.
Okay.
But also know your own limitations. Because I do work with newbies, and most of them are an absolute dream to work with. But then, when you're breaking a newbie in, sometimes it's like they're nervous. So, I'm always super sweet. So I want them to feel comfortable. It's their first scene.
Mm-hmm.
So, I tell them, hey, it's not gonna be for everybody. Like, let me know how you feel, because I remember when I was a newbie and the assurance that I needed to have, and where I needed to draw my inspiration from, and that was it. Is people just kind of working with me. Now your scene partners, depending on who your scene partner is, I can't speak for everybody, but and I've noticed that my scene partners have always been the type, that if we do get somebody new, they're very understanding.
Okay.
We're very patient people. So, don't, it's not like having sex. Like, you can have sex for 30 minutes and get your nut off and be fine with that. With porn, you have your still shots, you have, your action, um, filming, and then you have to stop, you have to pause, you have to, have your action shots done. You have to have your glamour shots done. So, I mean, it's a production.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not always going to be into it. So, while you're in a natural setting, you're filming for 30 minutes, right? In a
Mm-hmm.
natural setting. In porn, you're filming for 5 to 6 hours sometimes. So it's not gonna always feel like it's actual sex, because it's not sex. Are we into to our scene partners? Like I said, Vincent O'Reilly and I were like, I'm sorry, I could not keep out of them. Like, that was just amazing. And so, we just hit it off like that. But you're not always going to work with people that you want to work with. And if you don't want to work with them, and you are somebody like me, I don't have a problem with working with somebody. I just have a problem with being friends with somebody that is not true to themselves. So if you're gonna do porn, number one, make sure this is what you want to do. Number two, realize that porn is not for everybody. So if you don't kill it the first time, it's probably not gonna be for you. Honestly, you can try again, but at the end of the day, if I had an accident on set, or something was wrong, I would definitely not go back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I would much rather tell somebody that it's okay if they're not doing porn than it is, hey, welcome in. Because I can tell them both the same thing, but most of the time when people say, hey, can I get into porn? I have to make sure that they understand that porn is not for everybody. And if a producer asks you, or a director asks you, so how do you think that went? It probably went really bad. You probably should not do porn again.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks. What would you like remembered about you?
My heart. My heart. I think, because I try to be kind. And I try to listen as much as I can. There's one thing that anybody will tell you about me, especially if they're having a stressful situation, and they're having a hard time processing something. Talking it out is the best thing you can do for it. more so than that though, I'm here to listen. Like, because I know what it's like not to have a voice. I know what it's like to be stuck with something that you can't tell anybody, or that you're gonna look bad if you do tell somebody. I know what that's like. So I don't ever want somebody to feel like that. And so if somebody needs to talk to me and they're like, hey, Nick, do you mind if I talk to you for a minute? Absolutely. I will make the time for them to talk. Now, maybe, texting is better for me because, I'm always busy. I'm always doing what I can. But as soon as somebody texts me, the first opportune moment I get to text back, I will text back. And the reason why is because I think it's rude, number one, if somebody doesn't text back, number one. Number two, I know their time's valuable. So if I'm busy, I'll text back, hey, I'm at a shoot, or hey, I'm at a gig, or hey, I have to make a lot of plans here. Do you mind if we talk about this later? Or hey, how about we set up a time that you can call me and we can talk about anything you talk about. So I'm here to listen, and I'm here to let people know that, yes, it gets better. It gets so much better in the end.
Awesome.
And they don't have to be going through this alone.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What would you like to tell your fans? Because you have a lot of fans. What would you like to share with them?
I love my fans. I greatly appreciate my fans. I don't actually look at them like fans because, a fan would normally see people with their clothes on, right? They're at this point they're friends. They've seen a lot more of me than a lot of my family. So,
this is probably true. That's awesome.
Right. So no, it's great. It's I would always want to say thank you. Thank you for following me on this journey. Like, this is a journey for me as it is for you guys. Like, you guys see me blossom, right? Well, I'm on this journey of, like, it's a cool self-discovery kind of thing, and I thank every one of you guys for following me on this journey because it means so much. And to have you guys see me from point A to point B, even just now, it's been such a huge change and experience, and I'm so happy you guys are here because without you guys, I wouldn't be. I appreciate everything that everyone does. And it's interesting because, like, with Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff, we have a lot to keep up with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's work, but to go through every single message, go through every single comment on Twitter, on Instagram, like that in itself is a full day work. I looked at my screen time and they were like, oh, you're spending about 10 hours a day on your phone, because I'm always liking something, I'm always commenting back, and if I don't, it's because I genuinely missed it, and I'm like, or if I don't follow somebody back, I'm like, and then they bring it up to my attention, and they're like, well, you never followed me back, and I'm like, but we've been conversing, so I don't understand. And they're like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, oh, I feel bad. Let me correct it. Just like you, I did the same thing with you. But
it's all right.
Interesting because I missed it. I missed that whole notification. I'm like I turn off all notifications when I go to bed because I cannot deal with it. I need some sleep. Like I would die of sleep deprivation if my phone was on all the time. And I'm like,
you know what? We do understand that you do need to sleep, eat, and do other things in your day. And I couldn't imagine some of the number of notifications and things that pop up for you guys. So, you guys are great with your fans. And they appreciate it. But nobody's perfect, and I think that that's something that everybody needs to understand is that there are just times where things just get missed, or you never even got notified in the first place. I've had things like that happen to me all the time where I don't get a notification for something, even things I've been tagged in. So it's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
So
and I do get them like, or sometimes I'll get them like a week later, and I'm like,
those are the really weird ones.
right?
So, speaking of which, where would a new fan find you? Where would they be looking for you on social media?
Oh, on social media?
Yeah.
So Nic Sahara XXX on Twitter.
Okay.
Nic Sahara official on Instagram.
Okay.
Or so I should say Nic Sahara _official on Instagram. Only 2 sites social media wise goes that I use.
Okay. Where's
Now,
another place to find your movies, your films and stuff? Because you work for a lot of studios.
I do. I love my studios that I work with. So Falcon.
Okay.
.com, min.com, iconmail. .com, noirmail.com,
Mm-hmm.
nakedsword.com,
Okay.
hothouse.com,
Okay.
bromo.com was my last scene
Okay.
that I did for like the men line. I think that might be it.
All right. All right. Any projects or something that you want to share with us that we need to keep our eyes peeled for?
Yes, absolutely.
Do tell.
Okay, so there's 2 films that are, one's still being worked on, so I can't say so much about it. But Hot House.
Okay.
I have something coming up for Hot House that I've already filmed, but you're gonna have to wait because I don't know when it releases yet.
All right. We will keep our eyes peeled for it then.
But the most depressing one
Yes.
is Naked Sword.
Okay.
So that one's coming up to be released soon. Now, there's also an interview that I just did regarding that particular movie.
Okay.
So that's going to be in, I think, Glass magazine, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
However,
yes,
it's going to be coming out like mid to late April.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Five Brothers. And it's a double feature.
Okay.
But I am the main character.
Ooh. Ooh, nice. Nice.
So keep an eye open for that. That releases probably on the 20th of April.
All right. Yay. Super exciting. Well, Nick,
Yeah.
we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank you very much for joining me today. And
Yes.
this was fun. This was so much fun. Thank you for doing this. We will do this again, promise. Because there's so many more things that I could ask you, but we'll save those for next time. Yeah, I know. I'm just a walking question.
Well, it is a loaded question. So.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm all for loaded questions, loaded comments, innuendo. It's all good for me. All good for me.
We love it all. We love it.
Of course, the less the filter, the better. So.
Yes. The more the merrier.
Exactly.
It's like a big orgy.
Oh my God.
Thanks again for joining me today on the show. Remember, smile every day, hug somebody you love, be it 2 or 4-legged, and remember that you are special. Have a good day, everybody.